Champagne Gang, FizzFam.
Confidante, what is your profession? See my friend, nothing but soldiers and empowerment over here.
Pop that cork, let it rain, living lavish, no restraint.
Welcome to Champagne Central for Fizz Feed Conversations. The Empress can't be with you today. You know, with all of the storms going on and tornado watches and warnings in her area, but she wanted to keep you updated.
That is where this drone video is from, and it shows the extensive flooding over days here throughout the city. Entire roads appear to be submerged, and a lot of high water there.
You know, it's very hard to say, oh, it's going to be okay, but it is okay, you know, because right there, we're not in any houses right there. Now, you go on downriver just a little bit, we evacuated over at least 20, 25 people in the city of Hawkinsville. And right then, that's the Donna Drive area right there that you're seeing on the screens. And, you know, it is a very hard thing to say, oh, you know, on that. People have been evacuated. We've had to do some water rescues and things like that. And it's very hard to tell people it's going to be okay, but it will be okay because we are working very closely with everyone trying to make it better for everyone.
I am Bottle Girl Shayla, and I will be handling today's Fizz Feed. FizzFam, what is going on with TikTok again? Are we waking up to another ban? Or is it just another round of political hot potato? Let's get into it.
Welcome to Fizz Feed Conversations.
Here's the tea. So as of April 2025, TikTok is back under the government's microscope. According to a new report from USA Today, there's serious movement on banning the app again unless its parent company ByteDance sells it off within a set deadline.
TikTok ban just dropped. In a recent Truth Social post from Trump, he announced that he will be signing an executive order to keep TikTok up and running for an additional 75 days, meaning that the April 5th deadline has been moved to around June 18th, 2025. But will ByteDance ever be successful in selling TikTok to an American subsidiary? Well, a few months ago, they announced that JD Vance was in charge of the negotiations between TikTok. However, he was confident in saying that we're going to reach a deal by April 5th. That's tomorrow. Interestingly, Trump just announced the contrary, saying they need more time to finish this deal. Trump indicates that he wants to use the tariffs as a negotiation tactic to acquire TikTok. Will this end well for us? I don't know. For the first time in forever, ByteDance made a public statement about this deal. Due to Chinese export control lists, ByteDance might not be able to actually sell TikTok, including the algorithm, to an American subsidiary. While there are ways around that, ByteDance did announce that an agreement has not been executed. They also state that there are key matters that need to be resolved. I'm assuming one of them is tariffs. However, there are a few variables a lot of you haven't thought about yet when it comes to closing this deal, such as patents, trade secrets, and intellectual property. ByteDance has dozens of patents, and there are in fact several that make it a fierce competitor to most social media platforms. Now, for the people who are saying, I no longer care if TikTok gets banned, I hear you, and I understand why. A lot of you have said it reminds you of a Toxic X or that State Farm commercial where they're dangling the dollar in front of your face. On top of that, it feels like this app is completely changing in terms of what we're no longer seeing on our For You page, what we're able to say in the comments. This apathy is stopping a lot of people from seeing the potential in building a platform, growing a community, organizing, activism, allowing us to be outspoken about things we don't agree with. But if anything changes, I'll make sure to update you. However, it looks like we have 3 more months of TikTok.
And y'all, this isn't new. Remember the Trump-era TikTok drama in 2020?
Last night, banning U.S. transactions with Chinese tech firms Tencent and ByteDance. Tencent owns Chinese messaging app WeChat, and ByteDance is the parent company, of popular video sharing app TikTok. The WeChat order says the app captures info from users that could be accessed by the Chinese Communist Party. The TikTok order was similar and said it could be used for disinformation campaigns by China. The orders would effectively ban the app in the United States, taking effect in 45 days. The orders say Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross shall identify the transactions that will be subjected to the prohibition. Microsoft announced Sunday it is in talks to acquire TikTok's business in the U.S. within the next 3 weeks. The big news here, Becky, is the crackdown against Tencent and WeChat does not, from what I've read, impact the video game platforms, which include Fortnite and League of Legends, or otherwise there would have been a march on Washington, not by people with pitchforks, but a bunch of 11-year-olds with video game controllers. So rest easy. It's all good.
I mean, it was so unclear when I first read this news last night. I was trying to figure out, does this mean Americans aren't allowed to download TikTok? And that doesn't seem to be what this is. But it certainly cast a pall over what's happening with Chinese stocks. If you've been watching this, I was listening to Eunice Yoon, who was on in the last hour, and she was talking about the huge negative impact that this has had on Chinese technology companies, and just worrying about those that are looking for an international presence, like WeChat is. It's incredibly popular in China, has not made as much success in the United States. But you're going to get into some very tricky issues. And I believe ByteDance, the parent company, is saying that if it feels like it's being discriminated against, it is going to sue the United States and the U.S. courts.
I think that's possible. I think the big issue on TikTok is literally whether the user base is going to flee over the next 45 days. You obviously saw Facebook through the Instagram product come out with Reels, which is basically a copycat service of it, and you're seeing people migrate over there, though. Yeah. I don't know if you're on it right now. You're seeing a lot of actually just TikTok videos effectively being, republished over there. So the question is sort of whether people leave, and if they do, what value is lost. WeChat's a different story because WeChat doesn't have an audience, particularly outside of the United States, right outside of China, rather, in the United States. So unclear what kind of value, what kind of value destruction may or may not happen as a result of that decision.
I can't imagine around the table at the negotiations, and Andrew, I know you've spoken to people who are sitting around that table. What does this mean in terms of how you try and put a valuation on any of it? It was one thing when the president said he wanted a cut of it. Now you're trying to figure out if there's how valuable the property would be 45 days from now. That is a mess.
I think I think they're literally watching the numbers on a daily basis and trying to see, how many people flee. What does the user base look like? Does it change? I think within 45 days, if they can instill enough confidence in the business, and the president has made comments that have been positive about the Microsoft transaction, that maybe you hold on to those customers. So I don't know. It's going to be fascinating to watch.
Be banning TikTok. Y'all forgot about this, didn't you? Yeah, Trump could save TikTok, but he also helped create this mess in the first place. That is until he realized he could be a star on the app and then was convinced that being pro-TikTok would help him sway young voters in the last election. But before this 180, back in July 2020, Trump wanted to ban TikTok as a punishment to China for their handling of the pandemic. And in August of that year, he issued an executive order to ByteDance, TikTok's parent company, to divest from US interests or face sanctions. He was one of the people repeating the argument that TikTok's data collection threatened the US, and he gave the thumbs up to a deal where Walmart and Oracle were supposed to have stakes in TikTok, which was eventually shelved. His attempt to ban TikTok was stopped by a federal judge who said that Trump was overstepping his authority, and then Biden actually revoked his original ban in 2021. See, a lot can happen in 4 years. Now, when the ban was signed in 2024, it was conveniently folded into a really big bill that also provided foreign aid to Ukraine, Taiwan, and Israel, among other things. So, some key takeaways from this whole debacle. Number one, things get hidden in really big bills, which we're going to see more of, so it's time to pay attention. 2, public pressure can change minds when people come together on an issue. And 3, you don't get to be a hero for solving a problem you created in the first place, especially when you benefited from creating the problem.
Deja vu, baby. He's like a kid that tears things up, tries to finagle them back together again and claim, "Ooh, I fixed it, I'm your champion." Sir, didn't your mama ever tell you, you break it, you fix it? Repairing it is bare minimum, Mr. Trump. Back then, it was all about national security, and guess what? That's still the headline. Lawmakers are saying TikTok could be used by the Chinese government to spy on Americans or manipulate what we see on our feeds. TikTok denies it, of course, but let's be real. Are we deleting apps or just playing politics? TikTok says banning it would crush creators and limit free expression, and a lot of folks agree. Plus, what would Gen Z do without TikTok? Go back to Facebook? Instagram, maybe? Now, if ByteDance does sell, who's buying? That's the million-dollar mystery. No buyers have been confirmed yet. And with China's government needing to approve any deal, this could get messier than a duet gone wrong. It's been rumored that Elon Musk is in the running, but do you really want Musk behind the reins? Do we really want TikTok to become X too? And let's not forget the 170 million US users, including me, hello, who built businesses, platforms, and community through this app. This isn't just about dancing and trending sounds. For many, this is real life, real income, and real connection. So, will TikTok survive the political storm or get permanently logged out? Only time. And Congress will tell. But don't worry, FizzFam. We're going to keep you updated every step of the way. Until then, always remember, if it doesn't cause you to elevate, it's causing you to depreciate. Raise those glasses, clink, and let's drink till we meet again. This has been your Fizz Feed, by the way. If you want to learn how me and this video was created, type behind the scenes in the comments and drop a champagne glass and we'll do a tutorial video. Alright, thanks for joining me today. Until next time, bye now. And if you want to hear the Empress' previous coverage on this whole TikTok debacle, stay tuned after the credits.
FizzFeed Conversations.
Thank you for tuning in to FizzFeed Conversations, where we have candid conversations based on our opinion about things going on in the news. So I know we all know who TikTok is, right? Well, they're in a bit of a legal tussle with the United States government. And here's the deal. There's this law that was signed by Biden that says TikTok has to sell off its U.S. operation within a certain time frame. But basically, TikTok is saying, hold up, that's just not doable. They're also pointing fingers at the Chinese government, saying they're not keen on selling TikTok's recommendation engine, which is actually the algorithm that TikTok uses, belongs to China. And it's a big part of why TikTok is so popular. So the whole issue started because some folk in Congress are worried that TikTok's ties to China are a problem. So they're concerned that the Chinese government could use TikTok to spy on Americans or manipulate content to influence people. The FBI has gotten involved, suggesting that TikTok software could be used by China to get into people's phones. Now, TikTok is not taking this lying down, right? They're saying that Congress is basically banning them nationwide, which is a big deal considering TikTok has over 1 billion users worldwide, right? They're also pointing out that they've been working on ways to protect user data and keep the platform safe from outside influence. Despite all the concerns, a lot of people, including members of Congress and even President Biden's campaign, have TikTok accounts. TikTok is using this to argue that they're not really a threat to Americans, and it's turning into a bit of a legal showdown, with TikTok promising to fight the law in court. So far, their efforts to ban TikTok in some states by former President Trump have been blocked. It's definitely a situation worth keeping an eye on. So what does the TikTok legislation do? So the TikTok legislation signed by Biden gives TikTok's parent company, ByteDance, 270 days to sell TikTok. If ByteDance fails to do so, then TikTok will be removed from U.S. app stores and internet hosting services supporting it, effectively limiting new downloads and user interaction. So Biden's signature sets the sale deadline for January 19th of 2025, with a possible 90-day extension if progress is made, which would give TikTok up to a year before the potential ban. So what does that mean for our use of the app? So if TikTok can't separate from ByteDance by the deadline, then U.S. TikTok users could potentially be cut off by mid-January. However, this is still uncertain. So for now, TikTok fans can continue using the app as usual, they say. They might start to see more creators or the company itself speaking out within the app against the legislation. So what if TikTok gets sold to someone else, which is what the U.S. is requesting? Well, the problem with that is TikTok's parent company, ByteDance, is bound by Chinese law, and China has expressed opposition to selling TikTok. China has also implemented export controls on algorithms, which could cover TikTok's recommendation engine. So if China refuses to let ByteDance sell TikTok's algorithm, it could block the sale or allow a sale without the algorithm, which is crucial to TikTok's success with its 170 million US users. Without that algorithm, TikTok's future success would be in serious doubt. So I would love for y'all to tell me what you think about this in the comments. But here's my problem with all of this. We allow access to any and everyone to come into the United States and get access to the American dollar. We do. We allow people from all of these countries to come in to get a piece of the American dream, and we set them up tax-free, and they come in and dominate while Americans are struggling to figure it out. And they take that American money they make from here and send it back home and bring more of their families over to set them up because the American dollar is worth so much more. Did you know that it takes 7 yuan dollars to make up the US dollar? It takes 10 Mexican pesos to make up 1 US dollar. The South African rand is 16 to 1. The Nigerian naira is 1,386 to 1. So if I'm from Mexico and I make 100 US dollars here, if I go home or send it home and exchange it, that's 1,000 pesos in my country. So I just came up. Why do you think so many scammer complaints come out of Nigeria? If I scam you out of 100 US dollars and I live in Nigeria, in my country, I just made 138,600 naira. Now, I don't know how much it costs to convert it, but this is all about money. We let everybody come in and set up shop, but I can't, as an American, get assistance or education or anything else without paying an arm and a leg for it. So we give them the ability to stack up, to get up, to send back, and to do it all over again. We do. How do you think the Chinese have a lock on the hair stores and the nail shops? Because we allow them in to do it. So now you have this huge foreign institution that we've allowed in on a piece of the American pie during the pandemic when all of these companies were losing, American companies. And here you have this company with this app that's gaining and gaining and gaining nonstop and making money off American people that they don't have access to. And you know how our government is about you making money and not giving them any. So now they have a problem. So now this company, who happens to be caught in the middle of a cyber war between two adolescents who can't seem to get along, this company has to either lose all of its money and its business, or not make as much money off the sale of its business because they'll have to do it without the Chinese algorithm, just because America wants to prove a point to China. I can't get to you, so I'll get to what's closest to you. This money-making engine called TikTok. Not to mention all of the Americans who have turned TikTok into a business. So if you remove the business, then what are they supposed to do? It's not like a bunch of businesses are hiring or paying rates where American people can be or live comfortably. To me, this is all a matter of if I can't have it, nobody can, relating to our money. It's funny how things are constantly being done that can hurt us instead of help the economy. And how are we trying to control someone that we owe? Please help me understand. Aren't we still indebted trillions of dollars to China? Which is crazy considering, according to Forbes, the US dollar is worth more. What do y'all think about this whole TikTok business? Drop in the comments and let me know what you think. FizzFam Conversations. Our opinions, their stories.